Welcome to another deep dive. We're tackling Animal Farm today. Thanks to all of you for sending in those excerpts.
That's always a good one.
Yeah, it's a classic. And I think most of us, we remember Animal Farm kind of in broad strokes, an allegory, right? But what we're going to do today is really dig into the beginning, the very beginning of this whole rebellion on Manor Farm.
The early days.
Yeah, the very early days, right? So that's our mission today, to really pinpoint the key moments and understand what's driving all of it.
Absolutely. And where it all begins is with kind of a climate of hardship and resentment.
Okay.
Manor Farm, under Mr. Jones, I mean, it's a picture of neglect.
Right.
Jones is drinking, he's not taking care of the farm, he's not taking care of the animals.
Hmm.
And so that sets the stage for this kind of upheaval,
Yeah.
It's the perfect breeding ground for discontent.
You gotta have a reason to revolt, right?
Exactly.
So you're saying that the conditions are there, right?
The conditions are there.
Okay. So then it all really kind of kicks off with a dream,
Yes.
right? Old Major, this wise old boar,
Yes.
kind of becomes this catalyst.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with Old Major, and how powerful is this vision that he has?
Well, Old Major, I mean, he's revered by the other animals.
Right.
And he has this powerful dream of a world free from human control.
Yeah.
And when he gathers the animals in the barn, it's, his speech is not just this description of like a utopian future, but it's a real calling out of the present.
Right.
He articulates this core injustice that humans are consuming everything the animals produce.
Yeah.
Essentially stealing their very lives, their labor.
Right.
And what he does so effectively is he reframes their suffering, their hardship, as not as something natural, but as a direct result of human exploitation.
Yeah.
And I think this is a really crucial point. It's that shift in perspective that makes collective action possible.
You're changing the narrative. It's not just life is hard. It's life is hard because, right? And that's a huge mental shift for the animals to make.
Absolutely.
Right? And he goes on to paint this really compelling picture of what England could be like.
Yes.
Right? This bountiful land that could sustain every animal.
Yes.
If humans were just out of the picture.
Right.
And the excerpts that we got talk about how this really resonates with the more, I guess, with the more intelligent animal.
Well, it offers them a totally new lens,
right,
through which to view their existence.
Yeah.
I mean, they start to see their daily struggles not as, not just as like this is the way it is, but as a consequence of human dominance.
It's not a given. It's imposed on them.
Exactly. And I think this dawning realization is what kind of ignites that desire for change.
Yeah. Okay, so then we have this song that emerges,
Yeah.
Beasts of England.
Beasts of England, yes.
And it really seems to become like a rallying cry, a unifying force.
It does.
Right. What's the significance of this song?
Well, a song really brilliantly encapsulates Major's vision.
Okay.
It's got these incredibly vivid images of a future of abundance and dignity and freedom.
Right.
And the animals just totally embrace it, I mean, the source material talks about them singing it over and over and over again.
Right.
And you can almost feel this kind of collective excitement,
Right.
this hope bubbling up with every verse.
Yeah.
And I think more than anything, it's the song that really binds them together.
It's like a shared spiritual experience, you
Yeah.
know? It's like they're all feeling this on a very deep level.
Absolutely. It's this kind of shared feeling. But reality kind of intrudes pretty quickly.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mr. Jones hears all the singing, gets his gun, fires a shot into the darkness.
Everybody scatters.
Yeah. It abruptly ends the meeting. And then, just a few nights later, Old Major dies.
So the dream is kind of out there, but the dreamer is gone.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, Major's death, in a way, it amplifies his message.
Yeah.
He becomes this martyr.
Right.
And the dream doesn't die with him.
Right.
It turns into this rallying cry.
Yeah.
And it fuels this period of secret activity among the animals.
Okay, so now the torch has been passed.
Yes.
And the pigs step up to lead.
Yes.
So who are these pigs? The ones that are going to kind of be the architects of this rebellion.
Well, there are three that emerge as really central.
Okay.
Snowball, Napoleon, and Squealer.
Right.
And they're very different personalities. So Snowball's portrayed as very energetic and inventive,
Okay.
a real natural orator.
Okay.
But Napoleon is large, imposing,
Right.
not as much of a talker, but he's very determined to get his own way.
Okay.
And then Squealer, Squealer's just a brilliant talker. I mean, he can talk his way out of, into anything.
Okay. So you got these three pigs.
Yeah.
And they take old Major's, his ideas, and they structure them.
Yes.
Right? They formalize them into this thing called animalism.
That's right. They elaborate on Major's kind of foundational concepts.
Okay.
They turn them into this ideology.
Right.
And it's a set of beliefs and principles that initially, intended to guarantee equality and freedom.
Okay.
But ultimately, this ideology of animalism ends up providing a framework that can be twisted and manipulated to justify whatever the pigs want to do.
Right. That's always the danger with ideology, right?
Okay.
Okay. So they're having these secret meetings in the barn.
Yeah. After Jones is asleep,
Right.
they go and they teach the other animals, out of animalism.
Right.
But it's not easy, is it?
It doesn't sound like it. What kind of resistance are they running into?
Well, they run into a few major obstacles. Some of the animals were actually loyal to Mr. Jones.
Really?
They still refer to him as master.
Wow.
And they worry about, will we be able to survive without him?
Without the humans, right?
Without the humans.
Yeah.
Exactly. Others, I mean, some of them are just apathetic,
Right.
They're just kind of like, who cares? What does this have to do with me?
I'm just focused on getting through today.
Exactly. I'm just trying to survive.
Right.
And then there's Molly.
Who's Molly?
Molly's this elegant white mare.
Okay.
And she raises the question of, will there still be sugar and ribbons?
Oh, Molly.
I mean, even this early on, you can see how Molly's self-interest,
Right.
her desire for these kind of material comforts.
Yeah.
It hints at this potential, this challenge of maintaining unity.
Yeah.
You know, when you've got individual desires that clash with the greater good.
Right. So some are concerned about basic survival.
Yes.
And some are concerned about, maintaining a certain lifestyle.
Exactly. And then on top of that, they have to deal with Moses.
Okay, who's Moses?
Moses is the tame raven.
Right.
And he goes around telling these stories of Sugar Candy Mountain.
What's that?
It's this mythical animal paradise.
Okay.
Where animals go when they die.
Oh, okay.
And so this offers a different kind of hope,
Yeah.
a very passive hope.
Right.
For a reward after death. And that directly undermines the pig's message.
Right, you got to rise up now.
Exactly. You can't just wait for heaven.
Right.
You have to take action.
Paradise isn't going to fall into your lap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the pigs, they spend a lot of time trying to discredit Moses's stories.
Right.
Trying to convince the animals that true liberation is about seizing control of your life, of your destiny.
Yeah.
Now, not just waiting for some reward in the afterlife.
So you've got these different kinds of resistance, right, to the pigs' ideas. But you also have some real hardcore followers.
Yeah. I mean, the excerpts highlight Boxer and Clover.
Okay.
These two really powerful cart horses.
Okay.
As the pig's most faithful disciples.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So what's the deal with Boxer and Clover? What makes them so gung-ho for this whole thing?
Well, they kind of represent the working class,
Okay.
They're strong, they're loyal.
Right.
They work really hard.
Right.
But they don't question authority.
Once they've pledged their allegiance.
Exactly.
Okay.
They've accepted the pigs as their intellectual superiors.
Right.
And they just absorb everything they're told.
Okay.
And then they go out and spread the message to the other animals. And their meetings, their secret meetings, they always end with everybody singing Beasts of England.
So it's like this ritual.
It is.
To solidify the group.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have these kind of fault lines emerging already.
Yeah.
You've got the apathy, you've got the loyalty to Jones, you've got the hope for the afterlife.
Yeah.
But then the unexpected happens.
Okay.
The rebellion.
Right.
Comes much sooner and with much less struggle than anyone expects.
So what happens? What causes this sudden uprising?
Well, it all starts with Mr. Jones.
Okay.
He just continues to decline.
Right.
He's more and more despondent.
Right.
Drinks heavily, neglects the farm.
Right.
Doesn't take care of the animals.
Mm.
And the farmhands are just as bad.
Okay.
So the animals are underfed, the farm's falling apart.
Right.
And then, the immediate trigger, I guess you could say, is on Midsummer's Eve,
Okay.
which is a Saturday,
Okay.
when Jones gets so drunk, he doesn't even come home till Sunday midday.
Okay.
And the men, they milk the cows. Yeah. But then they go off rabbiting.
Okay.
And they don't give the animals any other food.
So it's like you're on your own.
You're on your own.
Yeah.
And by that evening, the animals are starving.
So it's like survival mode?
It is.
Right.
And one cow, she just spontaneously breaks into the store shed.
Oh, wow.
And all the other animals join in.
Oh,
They're desperate for food.
Right.
And then when Jones and his men finally show up, they come with whips.
Right.
But the animals, I mean, they're so hungry and they're so angry that they just retaliate.
Wow.
And they drive the humans right off the farm.
So it's not even a planned thing.
It's totally spontaneous.
It just erupts.
It erupts.
Wow. Okay. So they chase off the humans. What happens then?
Well, at first they can't even believe it.
Right.
They're so used to being under the humans' control.
Right.
And then, this joy, this just incredible joy washes over them.
Wow.
And they start, running around the farm,
right,
making sure there are no humans left.
Right.
And then they turn their attention to destroying all the symbols of their oppression.
Right. The bonfire, right?
Yeah, the bonfire.
With all the harnesses and the whips and even Molly's ribbons.
Yeah, yeah. Snowball even, he declares that all animals should go naked from now on.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
He says that clothes are part of the human tyranny.
Right.
And Boxer, in his simple way, he throws his straw hat on the fire.
Wow.
This hat that he loves so much.
So it's a real symbolic break with the past.
Absolutely. And they even renamed the farm.
Oh, right, right.
It's no longer Manor Farm, it's Animal Farm.
Right.
And Snowball paints the new name on the gate.
So it's a whole new era.
It's a whole new era.
Wow.
And then one of the first things they do is they write down these 7 commandments.
Right, they codify their ideals.
Yeah. So where do these commandments come from? Well, it's the pigs. They've been studying animalism.
Right.
And they kind of boil it down to these 7 commandments.
All right.
And they present them as this kind of unbreakable, eternal moral code.
Right.
That all the animals have to follow.
Right.
Forever.
Okay.
To safeguard their freedom and equality.
So remind us again, what are these 7 commandments?
Okay, so the 7 commandments, number 1, whatever goes upon 2 legs is an enemy. Number 2, whatever goes upon 4 legs or has wings is a friend. Number 3, no animal shall wear clothes. Number 4, no animal shall sleep in a bed. Number 5, no animal shall drink alcohol. Number 6, no animal shall kill any other animal. And number 7, all animals are equal.
It's interesting, right? They're very much focused on preventing a return.
Yes.
To the ways things were.
The abuses.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's this real sense of optimism, right? Especially with Snowball. He's really excited about getting the hay harvest in.
Yeah, there's a lot of hope in the air.
Right.
And purpose.
Right.
And the animals they're really eager to prove that they can run the farm on their own.
Okay.
But, almost immediately we start to see these little signs
Uh-oh.
of inequality.
Like what?
Well, for example, the milk.
Okay. Yeah.
The pigs.
Mm-hmm.
They take charge of milking the cows.
Right.
Which seems reasonable, right?
Sure.
They're the brains of the operation.
Right.
But then Napoleon says that the milk will be attended to while they focus on the harvest.
Right.
And, by the end of the day, the milk has disappeared.
Where'd it go?
Well, this is our first clue that the pigs are maybe not as committed to equality.
As they say they are.
Exactly.
Okay.
They're starting to put their own needs above the needs of the others.
Right. So it's a small thing. But it's symbolic.
It's symbolic.
Yeah, it's a bit of a red flag.
Definitely.
Okay.
But, the harvest is a success.
Oh.
I mean, a big success.
Yeah.
They get more hay in than they ever did under Jones.
Okay, that's impressive.
And there is this real spirit of cooperation.
Okay.
The animals are working hard.
Okay.
They're motivated.
Right.
And there's no stealing.
Right.
There's no quarreling.
Wow.
Even the ducks and hens, who aren't known for their hard work, even they're pitching in.
So it's really like a perfect little society.
It is for a while.
Right.
But there are still these hints.
Those little cracks.
Little cracks.
Yeah.
Molly's still not doing much work.
Shocking.
The cat keeps disappearing when it's time to do any chores.
Right, right.
And Benjamin, he's just as cynical as ever.
He's not buying in.
Not buying in. He's like, this will all go wrong.
Okay.
So then we come to the first Sunday, and this becomes a really important ritual for them.
Okay.
They raise this green flag with a hoof and a horn on it.
Okay.
They have a meeting in the barn.
All right.
To plan the week's work.
Okay.
And they sing Beasts of England.
So it's like a ceremony.
It is. It's about reinforcing their new identity,
right.
The new values. But even in these meetings, you start to see these disagreements.
Between who?
Between Snowball and Napoleon.
Ah, okay.
Even on minor issues.
All right, so these two they're butting heads a little bit.
Yeah, there's a real tension between them.
Okay.
And it's only going to get worse.
Right.
So, aside from the Sunday meetings, the pigs are also taking on these more specialized roles.
Okay.
They set up their headquarters in the harness room.
Okay.
And they start studying.
Okay.
They find all these books and manuals in the farmhouse.
Right.
And they're just soaking up all this knowledge.
Yep.
And Snowball, he's really busy. He's setting up all these animal committees.
Okay.
To improve life on the farm.
Like what?
Well, there's the egg production committee.
Okay.
There's the whiter wool movement.
Interesting.
There's the re-education committee for the rats and rabbits.
Oh, wow.
But, a lot of these committees, they don't really achieve much.
Really? So they're good in theory.
Yeah.
But not so much in practice.
Exactly. It's hard to, turn these idealistic ideas into reality.
Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with animals, who all have their own motivations.
Right.
And Snowball, he also introduces this maxim.
Okay.
4 legs good, 2 legs bad.
Right.
And the sheep, they just love it.
I can see why. It's very catchy.
It is.
Right.
And it's simple.
Right.
It's easy to remember.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's a bit reductive.
Right.
It's kind of reinforcing this very black and white view.
Right. Us versus them.
Exactly.
Okay.
And, while Snowball's focusing on educating all the animals, Napoleon's taking a different approach.
Okay.
He's focusing on the young.
Okay.
He takes the puppies.
The puppies.
Yeah, the newborn puppies.
Okay.
And he starts raising them himself.
Okay.
Separately from the other animals.
So he's kind of grooming his own little army.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So we have to talk about the milk.
Oh, the milk, yes.
What's the deal with the missing milk?
Well, it turns out it's been going into the pig's mash.
Every day.
Every day.
Wow. Okay.
So this is another, sign that the pigs are not really practicing what they preach.
Right.
Yeah. They're taking this valuable resource that according to animalism should belong to everyone equally.
Right.
And they're keeping it for themselves.
Right. And how do they justify that?
Well, they say that they need it for their brain work.
Right.
That they need to be strong.
Right.
To keep the farm running smoothly.
Okay, so they're putting themselves above the other animals.
Yeah.
Right. In a very concrete way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the same thing happens with the apples.
The windfall apple.
The windfall apples.
Yeah.
There's this big tree.
Right.
Loaded with apples.
Right.
And the pigs, they just take them all.
All of them.
All of them. And Squealer, he comes up with this explanation.
Right.
He says that the pigs need the apples for their brains.
Right.
To prevent Jones from coming back.
Right. They're using that fear of Jones.
Yeah.
Right. To control the narrative.
To justify their actions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Animal Farm is starting to solidify.
Right.
And they're looking to spread their message to the other farms.
That's right. Snowball and Napoleon, they start sending out these pigeons. To spread the word.
Okay.
About the rebellion.
Okay.
And to teach them beasts of England.
Wow. Okay. So they're really trying to kickstart a regional revolution.
Yeah, they want to see animal farms everywhere.
Right. So what do the humans think about all this?
Well, Mr. Jones is obviously not happy.
I can imagine.
He spends most of his time complaining at the Red Lion.
Which is?
The pub.
The pub.
The local pub.
Right.
But the other farmers, at first they're kind of skeptical.
Okay.
And they're also they're hoping to profit
Oh, okay.
from Jones's misfortune.
Maybe I can buy his land cheap, that kind of thing.
Exactly. There's Pilkington of Foxwood and Frederick of Pinchfield.
Okay.
And they're already not getting along with each other,
Okay.
and they're more worried about their own farms
Right.
than about helping Jones.
Right, right. But eventually they start to get nervous, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
As this idea of animal rebellion starts to spread.
They start to see it as a threat
Right.
to their own way of life.
Right, to their own power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so they start spreading all this propaganda.
Oh, like what?
They say that the animals are eating each other.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
they're torturing each other.
Oh, right, right.
That the farm's in chaos.
Right.
They're just trying to scare their own animals
Yeah.
into staying put.
Right, right.
But, Beasts of England, that song, it's unstoppable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like an earworm.
It is.
You can't get it out of your head.
The pigeons spread it.
Right.
Other animals pick it up.
Right.
Even the wild birds are whistling it.
Oh.
And the humans, they hear it.
All right.
And they're terrified.
Yeah, they recognize the power of it.
They do.
Okay. So then all this tension leads to Mr. Jones trying to retake the farm, right?
Yeah.
And that's the famous Battle of the Cowshed.
Exactly.
So what goes down in this battle?
Well, Snowball, he's been studying.
Okay.
He's read a book about Julius Caesar.
Okay.
So he's the one who comes up with the plan.
Okay, so he's like the strategist.
He is.
Okay.
And the plan involves all these different waves of animal attacks.
Oh,